Hey, Patrick, how you doing, bud?
Not bad at all, buddy. So we're doing a couple of economic articles for a change. Something that we're both interested in, with the cost of living going up, as they would say.
So yeah, the logistics costs in fuel getting around the world is really abysmal, and it's going to be driving up prices. So California's had some huge raises, like huge hikes. Our diesel went from just around $5 to almost $8 a gallon. I saw it at $7.79. And the knock-on effect
Wow.
is logistically everywhere is going to just it's going to cost more for everything.
And have you seen it in the shops yet? Say down your local grocery shop.
Yesterday, I bought one part of groceries or a buggy, and it was $287.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, it's getting pretty bad. And in that mix,
Wow.
I only had some chicken and some salmon. I really like salmon, so but that was
Okay.
for a fairly small fillet. It was about $26, and
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
and
Salmon's very expensive over there, isn't it?
yeah, and
Okay.
then I bought. I like chicken thighs better than any of the other kinds of chicken that comes in whatever format. So
Okay.
boneless, skinless chicken thighs. 8 of them were $22. I think 21, $22.
You know what the funny thing is? I actually picked up a pack of them the other day in Lidl in Ireland, and it was 3.69. But there was what?
Uh,
There was 10. There was 10 in the pack. So
so mine cost 7 times more than yours, and I got 2 less pieces of chicken. That makes
oh,
me feel bad, kind of way.
uh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. I got 8 chicken thighs for $22, and you got 10 for less than €4.
Yeah,
So,
bear in mind now there was a special offer in my local Lidl. Normally it's five something, two fives, 5.89 or something like that. Yeah.
well, I paid 258, I think, for 2 cartons per carton. So it's about $5, 5.16 or something for 2 18 packs of eggs, which was really good. It was on sale at about half off. So I guess they had an overage on eggs. Thank God.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So
I won't
yeah.
tell you. I won't tell you the price. I won't tell you how much they cost over here.
Okay,
So
how much they
okay.
cost? Come on, give it up.
So you get a dozen eggs, which is 12 eggs, for less than £3 in most places, because they're usually part of a club deal or whatever else.
Yeah, I got mine on sale for 258. Normally about 369, 379 ish.
Yeah, so about the same price actually in a lot of ways. Yeah.
Not,
So eggs
not
about the same price.
not too bad.
Chicken is
Not too bad.
different though. You know.
Yeah, somehow your chickens are probably safer to eat and they cost less. Irritating.
Yes.
That damn EU. All right, so we have an article today why gasoline costs 52% more in the US than it did before the Iran war. Go ahead and read this paragraph here on the top, and I'll let you fire off some thoughts. Here we go. By Kathy Busowitz, New York, Associated Press. The price of a gallon of regular gasoline in the United States climbed 31 cents in the past week, spiking to an average of $4.54 per gallon Wednesday, a price 52% higher than before the war with Iran began, according to AAA data.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Because, as I keep saying, is I see Trump and others coming out saying, "Oh, we have our own oil reserves and so on," which is fantastic. You have for oil can be very easily manufactured. Well, not easily, but into petrol and diesel with very little other materials put into that process. Where gasoline is slightly different. I'm trying to think of but all I know is 80% of what's used to manufacture gasoline comes from that particular region.
Well, Venezuela is also a good spot, and then Alaska as well.
Yeah,
So there's
Venezuela also have natural reserves and so on.
right. Well, I
But
think they call it deep
but still,
crude.
yeah. So you have to remember, yes, America has lots of oil reserves, but for the most part, most we use gasoline, not petrol or diesel. Would I be right?
Sounds accurate. We'll check it if
Yeah.
we're wrong, or you can check
Yeah,
it. Send us a
yeah.
comment. Let us
Most
know.
times when I see America, it's always on about the price of gasoline, so I'm just presuming. But you have to remember that any disruption to the supply chain, no matter where it is around the world, will have a massive knock-on effect, even though you think it might not affect you, as you're finding out now in the United States at the moment.
Makes sense. The main reason drivers are paying more at the pump is because the war has stranded oil tankers near the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow passage through which a fifth of the world's crude oil normally passes. The price of crude oil, which is the main ingredient in gasoline, climbed for most of the past 2 months because Iran has effectively shut the waterway located off its coast. They've done this by putting mines in the water, in international waters. That's not legal. I don't think it's a violation of the Geneva Convention.
Well, to be honest, when it comes to international law, it's more of a gray area. As the United States has kind of found out over the years, they kind of thumbed their nose at international law. So Iran has probably just thumbed their nose at international law. Right. Technically, you're not supposed to do it, but everyone does.
No, everybody doesn't put mines in the water, Patrick. They don't put mines in the water.
As they said, look, Iran put mines in the water, they put speedboats, so on. But as they say, the U.S. Navy is there at the moment with Operation Freedom. There's another article now, we'll go over that in a minute, who are trying to free up that waterway and escort ships and so on. Well, they talked about it. But that seems to be a resolution at the moment that's trying to happen.
Do you think that's going to solve anything? You think that'll actually get the process?
I don't think the U.S. Navy is capable of doing what they say they're capable of doing. The figures, later on, there's another article will show you the figures don't back up what has been said.
Right. The aircraft carrier flotillas are pretty amazing things, but I don't know that they're up to the task that they're trying to complete. So,
no, they're not, because you have to remember the aircraft carriers themselves are about 400 plus miles away from actually that strait. So it's just normal light U.S. ships going in there. The heavier vessels obviously have to stay out of that, minefield, literally.
Right. Well, there's a very small area across which you can pass through the Straits of Hormuz. The whole area is in deep water. It's a very, very small section.
And bear in mind, an aircraft carrier is a very big target. Just to bear that in mind.
Right. And if you get them close enough to where Iran can shoot the missiles that they do have out that way, they'll probably do it. And they'll probably attempt to overwhelm those vessels as well. So
yes,
because they're hidden and they will come up. If there's a big target that comes up, they will definitely attempt to make a hit.
Obviously, a target opportunity like that is, red rag to bullets, I would say.
So from what I understand, the majority of U.S. fuel does not come from the Strait of Hormuz.
No.
Out the Persian Gulf through the Gulf of Oman.
Yes, technically you're right. But the gases and I'm trying to think of it.
Anyway, processing materials.
Processed materials for your gasoline come from that region, but you're technically right, the oil doesn't come from that region.
Right, but I think we get most of that stuff now from Venezuela, so it doesn't make sense if we're using other resources.
No, Venezuela's oil fields are still most people are years away from being fully operational again.
Right, because the Maduro regime took them from American businesses. Yeah, I got it. Okay.
And obviously they left them decay over time, so that's years down the road. That won't fix your problem at the moment.
In mid-April, U.S. gasoline prices fell daily for almost 2 weeks amid signs of the conflict could be winding down. After the announcement of the initial ceasefire, there was a kind of optimism that this really could be the beginning of the end of the conflict, said Rob Smith, director of global fuel retail at S&P Global Energy. So crude prices came down correspondingly. Gasoline spot prices followed and so on, and the retailers lowered prices as well. So the retailers, locally at least here, get a very small percentage off of the fuel, right? The big chunk goes to the sale
of... Exactly the same here.
Right. So the big chunk is the purchasing of the product at your local forecourt or gas station, and then the taxes, and then a small window, literally cents on the dollar, right? 3, 4, 5 cents on the dollar.
Most of them make their money from different products you buy in a gas station, like your energy drinks or your sandwich or so on. That's where they make the bulk of their money.
The big one in the United States is the fountain drinks. Get your ice, get your cup, and they're only they're only about out 12 to 13 cents per cup, but then you're paying $3, $4 for a thirsty 2 ouncer of some kind of slurpy beverage.
2 ounces, Jesus.
No, thirsty 32 ounces.
Okay. Did you ever hear that thing called diabetes over there? just saying.
Oh, we lead the world, bud. We're the best. We're the best at the diabetes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. That reminds me of one of my favorite jokes ever when I was a kid. My dad told me this, and he's like, hey, if Johnny's got 32 cookies and he eat 30 cookies, what's he got? My sister piped up and said, Johnny's got diabetes, Dad. I'm like, that's funny. Oh, sister was
Yeah.
hilarious. All right. But gasoline prices reversed course and began increasing again as deepening hostilities over the strait between the U.S. and Iran kept oil supplies constrained. Bit of a problem. There's a fundamental shortfall that will exist globally, or fundamental struggle to meet that demand that will drive up price, Smith said. No matter what a government says or what any market person thinks, there's a true kind of upward pressure that's being exerted on prices every day. The Strait of Hormuz is constrained, and it is still severely constrained.
Okay? Yes. And that's also going to drive up inflation. Because I remember we were talking about inflation before offline.
Mm-hmm.
But this will have a massive knock-on effect to the U.S. economy.
Right, logistics.
Probably in the next couple of weeks and months and so on. You see a domino effect over time.
Who sets gasoline prices? Gas station owners set prices at the pump, but a lot of factors go into what they decide to change. The main ingredient in gasoline costs is the price of a barrel of crude oil in the U.S. Oil prices represent about 51% of the price of a gallon of gasoline in 2025, according to the Energy Information Administration. Got a cute graph. Here we go. So, gas prices have seen a steep climb since the start of the Iran war. They hit $5 a gallon months after the Ukraine war began in 2022. This is a national average. Understanding that where I reside is another 33% above that.
Yes. Wow.
If I get gas under $6 a gallon, I'm pleased as punch, which is sad face.
Yes. Wow.
That means when crude oil prices rise, gasoline prices generally follow. Less oil on the market means higher prices for oil and gasoline. Iran's effective closure of the Strait of Hormuz during the war triggered the largest supply disruption in the history of oil markets, according to the International Energy Agency, pushing oil prices as high as $112 a barrel in early April. Oil prices fell below $100 a barrel Wednesday after the U.S. and Iran appeared to be moving closer to an initial agreement to end the war. That could pull gasoline prices down as well if the trend continues. I don't know that that trend is going to continue. It's still rocky as hell out there. Things are not going smoothly.
There doesn't seem to be any deal on the horizon at the moment.
Well, I would like them to come up with something. That would be great. The people are suffering at this point. So.
Yes.
Bob Kleinberg, adjunct senior research scholar at Columbia University Center on Global Energy Policy, compared the average price of a gallon of gasoline in the U.S. with the price for a barrel of WTI, the U.S. benchmark oil, over the past few weeks, and said their prices generally match up.
Yeah.
Not much of a mystery here, Kleinberg said. It's not exactly proportional, but the shape of the curves follow the same pattern, and really with very little delay. So the the WTI goes up functionally in correspondence to the price per gallon of gasoline. So,
yes.
Federal and state taxes contribute about 70% of the oil price, except here in California and in Ireland. Refining costs and profits contribute 14%, of the distribution and marketing contribution 17%, the EIA said. In some states, such as California, they mentioned us by name.
Yeah, there we go, yeah.
I feel included. I didn't really want to be.
Oh yeah.
Like giving the bully your lunch money. I didn't want to be part of that. Taxes and refining costs push the price of gasoline well above the national average, right?
Yes.
So New York and Illinois and California are really susceptible to this. Washington State.
Bear in mind, California is one of the larger economic states in the union. So if inflation hits them badly, it'll have a massive knock-on effect to the rest of the United States.
Not with oil.
Bear that in mind.
Not with oil. We get a very boutique summer and winter blend. It's like a great Chardonnay.
You were saying that before, yeah.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. Wow. We just lost 2 more refineries too.
Okay.
Or one is down and one's about to go down. So I think we went from 11 to 9 in the state.
Yeah, because the funny thing is what people don't understand is if California in particular takes a massive hit to our economy, that would have that would cause a lot of problems to the rest of the union.
Right. Our tax base is fairly huge, but we've lost a lot of businesses, much like New York City.
Yeah.
What caused renewed march in gasoline prices? Like marching? One event that could have changed the trajectory of gasoline prices occurred in April when the U.S. blockaded Iranian ports to stop the country from exporting oil. Iran had been moving an unusually high amount of oil to global markets, so that was helping moderate prices. Problem is they were doing it with shadow fleets. That's not great either. Said Jim Crane, a
Yeah.
research fellow at Rice University's Baker Institute. The Trump administration decides they're going to punish Iran and try to put more pressure on Iran by blocking their exports. So, of course, that does put pressure on Iran, but also puts pressure on global oil prices and forces them up. That was probably a big factor.
Mm. And that is the massive problem, is you don't want them exporting oil to benefit their economy. But on the other hand, if you don't let them export oil, it'll cause a massive problem as well. So,
Well,
there was no easy way around this. But was it a necessary? Well, we can argue all day. Was it a necessary war? But Iran had to be, I would say, dealt with sooner or later. But they probably could have came up with a better plan then. We're just going to wing it.
Well, I'm not party to their plans, and I don't think that the Secretary of War would go in half-cocked. I think he has a set of instructions, and he's going to do the best he can with them.
Yeah, obviously they are trying their best.
Well,
in fairness, they are trying their best.
You've played war-type games, I have heard. And in the war-type games you play, sometimes your planned strategy becomes bad tactics because you were unaware of something going in.
Right? Yes, but I think their initial... But I think the problem with the United States is they thought if they wipe out the leadership, people will rise up and they'll be heroes. That hasn't actually happened. So now they're trying to scramble to come up with a different plan.
I think their command and control situation there, things did not go as planned. And so they've had to, I don't know so much wing it, but change their strategic planning, right?
Yeah, I think sooner or later there will have to be boots on the ground. That goes without saying. There'll have to be some sort of American troops, for the most part, boots on the ground.
Didn't Mike Tyson say that everything changes when you get punched in the face? I think I'm misquoting him, but...
Yes, I understand what you're saying, but when you have a regime that is so desperate to survive, it's very hard to make them surrender. All through history, there's plenty of examples of fanatical states that are just nearly impossible to put under control.
Yeah, you've told me that's where empires go to die.
Yeah, Iran is, that's what it's called over the years. The graveyard of empires. I think, unfortunately, I know not being doom or gloom, I think the United States and their allies are going to figure that out the hard way if they put boots on the ground as well.
It's not going to go well. What refineries and traders are willing to pay for oil swings wildly after news breaks about attacks on ships in the Persian Gulf or diplomacy talks stalling. The oil market is exquisitely, that word. Expensive word.
Yep.
Sensitive what's coming out of the White House. Fancy, Feinberg said. Back in early March, at the beginning of the Iran war, the price of gasoline jumped 48 cents in a week. The highest weekly jump was in March 22nd, March 2022, when the price jumped 60 cents a week after Russia invaded Ukraine, AAA says. So, no quick fix. No one can predict
There is no quick fix.
No. It's actually the title of the next section. No quick fix.
Yes.
No one can predict how high gasoline prices will climb. A gallon of regular in the U.S., that's the 87 octane, costs more now than it did in early May of 2022. And back then, the price kept climbing through Memorial Day, AAA said. The longer the flow of oil through the Strait of Hormuz is hindered, the higher prices will go, and the longer it will take to get back to normal, Smith said. I don't know who Smith is, but Smith said that. Even if there was a true and lasting resolution of the conflict, both sides agreed to play nice and truly do commit to keeping Hormuz open. It will take months to get back to what it was pre-war, if not longer, Smith said. There will still be within the industry a risk premium associated with going through that region. And a lot of that has to do with trying to insure the vessels and that kind of cost on the front end to get the crude where it's got to go.
Even they're predicting, I remember I was watching Euronews about it, even if the war stopped tomorrow, it'll take anything from 6 to 18 months for prices to start heading back to normal rates.
Right, the stabilization period's going to be pretty long.
Yeah.
Not that it was ever a perfectly safe journey, but the past few months have shown that it'll be hard to convince shippers and insurance companies that the risk level will be similar to what it was in February. It'll be a long time before anyone can be convinced of that. Yeah, it's an unsafe space, right? And notice how they always talk about safe spaces. The Strait of Hormuz is not a safe space. But with the mines and the angry folks being unfriendly with one another. The U.S. exports more oil than it imports, and oil is the main ingredient in gasoline. but oil is traded on a global market, so events happening in other parts of the world impact prices for everyone. Also, nearly 70% of the U.S. refineries are set up to process heavy sour crude, according to the American Fuel and Petrochemical Manufacturers, AFPM, a trade association, and much of the oil produced in the U.S. is light sweet crude, which was unlocked during the shale revolution. As a result, just 60% of the oil processed in U.S. refineries comes from domestic oil fields, according to the AFPM. Retooling domestic refineries would cost billions of dollars, the group said, and it would require shutting down those refineries temporarily, which generally raises gas prices. Yeah, that's a fact. We were
Yes.
talking about that. So the
Yeah.
sour crude versus the sweet crude. I don't even know how I would do a taste test on that. Like if you gave me wine glasses, like who is the taste testing? Do we have sweet crude or sour crude?
Yeah, I think that's the main problem that most people don't seem to understand in the United States is it's not that easy to turn oil into another product. It takes a lot of resources to turn it into another product. And I think unfortunately it will cause inflation to go up. And I know doesn't sound good, but it's not looking well for the normal guys on the street, as they would say.
Nope. Not looking good for the blue collar, hardworking person we have here in the States or in Ireland. Not going well.
No.
All right, let's go ahead and kick over to this next article we have so we can get this thing going. All right, next article. We're going to get into the numbers because Patrick likes the numbers. We're going to the economics of the situation.
Yes.
So these numbers show the global impact of Iran's grip on the Strait of Hormuz. Again, the Associated Press. We found going through our research that these three articles were the most balanced and gave the best kind of information for us to bring.
There was no fluff. It was just straight numbers. That was it.
Got a little video. Let's see. What's the little video here? We got a tanker out there. That is the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah, it looks like it's just.
Oh,
yeah.
One of them little fast boats. There you go. Get to the reading. Hundreds of merchant ships. Oh, nope. I'll start with the morning wire. I'm good. Thank you, Associated Press. This is Melanie Lidman, May 7, 2026. You can also get that in Spanish if you want. We don't want it in Spanish. Iran's grip on the Strait of Hormuz has jolted the world economy, causing a spike in fuel prices that has rippled through other sectors with effects far beyond the Middle East. It has also left tens of thousands of mariners and hundreds of ships stranded in the Persian Gulf. Iran effectively seized control of the critical waterway after the U.S. and Israel attacked it on February the 28th, 2026. Weeks of heavy bombing and a U.S. naval blockade imposed last month have yet to loosen its grip. Iran says it will only reopen the strait if the war ends and the blockade is lifted. U.S. President Donald Trump is seeking wider concessions, including the rollback of Iran's disputed nuclear program. I don't know how disputed that is.
Yes.
21 miles, 34 kilometers. This is the width of the strait, which bends like an elbow at its narrowest point between Iran and Oman. Ships follow narrow lanes to safely navigate the shallow water, making it even more of a choke point. So the navigable space is smaller. Ships come through the Gulf of Oman on the north side of the Strait of Hormuz and then go up into whatever Gulf state port, Iran, UAE, whatever other country that they're porting to pick up oil, or if they're going to be doing Karg Island, generally speaking, or if they're going to be getting oil from Iran, they go to Karg Island. So, and then there's large cities that have oil ports out there as well. And the UAE has done some strange things. We'll probably get into that either next week, maybe next week. There's a lot of stuff going on with OPEC, and one of them stepped out so they could produce more crude oil and ship it. There was a restriction on the. Go ahead.
Yeah, basically, with the OE, they stepped away from the rest of OPEC members, so they could manufacture more oil.
Right, so they weren't bound by the restrictions of OPEC. Yeah,
which is a good thing. But even if they, as one economic guy said, even if they increase it by 200%, it's still a drop in the bucket compared to what the world needs from the strait.
Right. So before the war, a fifth of the world's traded oil typically flowed through the strait every day, as well as large supplies of natural gas, fertilizer, and other petroleum products. So if you look at the map, the Persian Gulf is on the west side of the Strait of Hormuz, and the Gulf of Oman is on the east side. So you have to come up through that Gulf of Oman to get through that space. And it is difficult terrain to go through. Well, waterway. It's a difficult waterway to get through.
Yes, it's an absolute nightmare for any vessel.
Right. So in the recent days, the blockade has been causing some issues, but the United States is trying to escort some ships out of that space. Problem is they can't get the bigger ships out there. If they do, then the missiles will come from
the
Iran.
bigger targets, obviously.
Right.
Yeah. So bear in mind, look at that figure. So there's between 100 and 130 ships per day used to sail through that strait.
Right. And that's from Lloyd's list of intelligence. 534 is the number of ships that are believed to have passed through the strait from the start of the hostilities through May 4th. Many are believed to have carried Iranian oil in normal times, an estimated 6,500 to 8,450 ships. That is a very small percentage.
Yes.
I like this. This is all numbers. 50%. The amount that the average price of gas in the U.S. has risen since the war began. Insurance rates for ships from 1% to 10%, which is absolutely massive. 45 million people, mostly in Asia and Africa, if the straits are not open, will experience hunger issues, according to the UN World Food Program. The blocking of fuel and fertilizer shipments could push the price of food and other necessities out of reach for those already.
That's the most important part, by the way. Is the fertilizer is not coming out either.
Yeah,
which is very, very important.
Very important. 10 mariners have died. 32 ships have come under attack. 1,550 the number of vessels from 87 countries currently stranded in the Persian Gulf. That is a lot.
Yes.
22,500 mariners are stranded. 15,000 the number of U.S. soldiers accompanied by 100 aircraft. That's more Navy personnel than U.S. soldiers. I don't think there are any members of the United States Army that are out there, or if they are, it's a very small number. And two ships that Project Freedom has gotten through. So
yes.
That was
that's the whole. Do you know that big song and dance your war minister said about how they're going to, freedom bring Project Freedom, bring all these ships through.
That would be nice.
Two.
Well, they got all both of them. They did.
Yes. Yeah.
How many ships are stuck in there? 1,200 or something? 1,550.
But they got two out.
It's better than none.
Yeah.
All good things need to start somewhere, right?
Yes.
The journey begins with one step. And in this case, it starts with two ships.
Yeah. And in a week, they got two ships out.
Well, probably have to ramp up the program and get the operations orders in place.
No, I just don't think they want to risk their neck, because that is an absolute kill box if they try to go through that narrow strait.
It is. It is not the best.
In fairness to the US, they're trying to fix the problem.
Yes.
I will give them credit. They are trying to fix the problem, but the terrain is not their friend at the moment.
The waterway, not their friend. So the other thing is Iran, like every other country in the world, really doesn't want to touch America's boats. Touching America's boats is really not a thing.
In fairness to Iran, it's not from lack of trying. I will say that much about them. Yeah. It's definitely not from lack of trying.
Oh yeah, the U.S. doesn't want their boats touched. They don't want to pull out the doll and
say, I don't think the Americans
the
want to risk their boats either. So there's a kind of a double-edged sword there at the moment.
Pretty much. All right. So the next thing we're going to get into is the tariffs and how they're affecting
we can click straight over that article there.
All right. We'll pop straight in. Booyah. Here we go. Tariffs and war are hurting the California small businesses. Pretty interesting.
Yeah. I said that article is more close to home for yourself.
A little bit.
It's kind of by the way, it's a snapshot of the larger problems with small businesses across the United States as well at the moment. Because if it's affecting California, it's probably affecting other, because some of the larger ports are based in California. So yeah, it's affecting California. It's definitely affecting all the smaller states.
The two other things that are affecting it are that our agricultural sector is massive, and with the lack of appropriate fertilizer and the cost of fuel, getting things out of California is going to hurt our neighbors that need our food. They need our agricultural type stuff. And understanding that these days we have a 45-day growth to fork thing that we try and do, it makes food less generally healthy than it used to be. We don't have Alexander on the side of the house that we pick on the way in and out. We don't have crops that take years to develop. We just can't do that with our logistics chain, right? That is a losing proposition. You cannot wait for something to grow for 2 years before you harvest it. even if you can harvest it over and over again once it has grown.
Well, normally there's a 9-month growth period across the world for most agriculture, where the United States have come up with what they do is they pump the soil full of fertilizer. And as you said, it helps to grow the product very quickly.
Oh, very quickly. Yeah. We have it down to a science here. Like we get the food out of our agricultural area. And if you look at the central area, the central California area, it is massive. And it is all farms from
Yes,
Fresno
but
to way north of Yuba. It's
but bear
massive.
in mind, most of your fertilizer comes from that region as well.
It does. It does. Some of
Yes.
the best stuff. So this is by Levi Sungese, Cal Matters, and we'll go ahead and read a little bit here. All businesses already navigating the costs and chaos of tariffs must now also contend with the effects of the war in Iran. It just feels like things keep getting piled on top, said Nicole McDonald, owner of a San Diego business that sells women's bags. So this is the cost of the physical things that people are purchasing in local shops by local business owners.
Yes.
So not just for business, but for consumers. And what is a business without consumers? If it costs too much, they're not going to buy it, right? And they're going to see that the prices are significantly higher, which means somebody that would have bought 2 or 3 of the thing will now buy 1, or they will go without the things that are luxury items.
There's an old saying: people cut their cloth to their measure.
Well, they have to, for sure.
Yeah.
Since her customers are feeling financial pain just like her, they're spending less money on discretionary items. If they're still buying, they're choosing denim bags over leather because they're cheaper. Obviously, you're going to get a less pricey item as well. You might need the woman's handbag, but you don't need the $500 handbag. You'll take the $82 handbag or whatever.
Or the $20 handbag, or
the swap meet handbag. Yeah, you go over to the swap meet of the flea market, right? So it's just, I want the bag, or I want a bag, and I'm going to get it, but I'm going to spend $22, not $500. Since her customers are feeling financial pain just like her, they're spending less money on discretionary items, right? Each level of pressure, economic uncertainty, and tightening of the purse strings impacts people's decisions on spending. She owns a place called Sash Bag. That sounds pretty cool.
That sounds cool, actually, yeah.
Yeah. Little posh, little Sash Bag. Where'd you get your bag? Got it at the Sash Bag. Okay. Yeah. Other small retailers in the area tell similar stories of increased costs and having to adjust in continued tariff uncertainty in the wake of the Supreme Court decision that invalidated the bulk of President Donald Trump's wide-ranging tariffs. In some cases, such as if they were imported their own goods, they might be able to apply for tariff refunds, though the timeline for receiving refunds is unclear, which seems strange. So the logistics side of it had to pay the brunt of what was going on, but then they charged it to the end consumer, right?
Yes, that is normally how tariffs work.
So the money went to the logistics people for the movement of the thing. The money goes to the federal government. When they paid it back, they paid it to the logistics side, and it's supposed to trickle down to the consumer, but I just don't think that's going to happen. I think
bear in mind, they were ordered to pay back the $600 billion in tariffs. Bear that in mind.
For sure.
They were ordered to do it. Yeah.
But if
they
that goes
haven't
to
actually done
logistic
it
company,
yet.
right? But if it goes to logistic companies, it's just going to go to a black hole or overage costs.
But bear in mind now, that case is still working its way through the courts.
Yeah, it's still being adjudicated. Yeah.
Yeah, it's still working its way. So that $600 billion, it hasn't been handed back yet, because obviously there's a court case in the middle of it.
Meanwhile, everyone has been hit with higher shipping costs because fuel prices have gone up. The average price for regular unleaded gasoline in the state is $5.55, up from $4.79 a year ago, according to the AAA. The national average is $4.11 to $3.15 a year ago. The spike in gas prices caused inflation to rise in March. Consumer confidence is at a record low. So my business sent me to work in Texas for a year, and that was just a couple years back. And the average cost of gas while I was in Texas for a year was between $2.91 a gallon to $3.36 a gallon for the entire year I was there, right? And here's a for instance, right? So I had to take a company vehicle out to Texas to do the work that I had to do. And I went to a place called Lost Hills, California. It's one of the last places on the freeway headed toward Arizona. And I paid almost $8 a gallon in the desert for gas. It was horrible. And that was 87 octane. That wasn't even premium stuff, And I was compensated for the cost of fuel, It was a company card. So I was compensated for the time, but that's insane. And when I got into Arizona, the price drastically dropped to half of that. Once I got past Zizix, it was really, really insane. So,
Wow.
just anecdotally, yeah, when you're out in the desert, it's real expensive. So just the logistics of getting the fuel out there to that space and people traveling along those freeways, going east and west, yeah, they're going to get you. But when you get to states outside of California, everyone is shocked until you get to New York, and then you're not shocked because it's California prices are worse. So higher prices hit small businesses defined as those with fewer than 500 employees, harder than big ones, and some wonder how they can survive. That's bad news for the state, whose small business creates millions of new jobs a year and lately have been responsible for 99% of the net new jobs, according to the California Office of Small Business Advocate. And there's some other strange things going on with that as well. So,
okay.
Yeah, not great. Plus state income tax. Every time I read this stuff, I just get sad. Sad face.
You seem to get hit. Yeah, they don't seem to want to encourage businesses that much.
Yeah,
by the sounds of it.
Okay. So McDonald's, whose business brings in 6 figures a month, said she saw her 2025 sales drop by 50% compared with these years. So purses and things like those are luxury items. They're luxury items. You could get the denim bag.
They're the first thing that gets knocked off the budget when times are hard. You could say.
Well, and the tariffs specifically affect that front because it's kind of a combination textile luxury item too. So because of tariffs, she stopped manufacturing. She stopped manufacturing products in China. She didn't do that. That's strangely worded. She stopped importing manufactured products from China and just shifted entirely to India. She went from 11 staff members to 3, and because she spent tens of thousands of dollars in tariffs, she said she didn't have money to bring in inventory for the holidays.
What she's done there is actually makes a lot of sense because India hasn't been hit that hard with tariffs from the United States, unlike China. So that makes sense to switch over to India. You're getting the same handbag, you could say, from India that you would have got from China. Makes good business sense, actually.
She uses brokers to import her offerings, and she's waiting to hear from them about possible tariff refunds. But even if she does eventually receive funds, she said the damage has been done. The money could have gone to personnel or growth instead of going to tax, right? So the president's policies have had a global impact. Last week, McDonald's longtime manufacturing partner in India informed her that her costs for raw materials have gone up by 25%. That mean higher costs for new production after increasing prices about 10% last year. She'll probably have to raise them again because she was working on thin margins. So Sash Bag is having a tariff issue, and then Sash Bags is about to have an issue with logistics because of the cost of fuel. Understanding in California, and especially in San Diego, it's close to $7, right? It's really bad, right? So, yeah. And even the posh folks are going to be like, hey, Sash Bags is cool, but I'm not driving over there, right? I'm going to have it delivered, right? Well, then the problem with that is now you have to pay for the fuel to get it delivered to you. So you're not saving as much money. When going to the brick and mortar was actually a more of a status thing, as well as I want to go look at all the bags, feel, touch. This is a bag I like. This looks so cool with my outfit, or whatever their thing is, right? So whatever posh San Diego folk do. But posh people are pretty much the same everywhere. They want to be seen in the posh place, doing the posh thing, getting the posh product, and getting more than you.
And don't forget the Instagram photos.
Right. Oh, yeah, you got to have that, right? So I'm going to go ahead and drive my European sports car or SUV, park it where you can see me parking it, get out of it, talk to some other folks who are driving European sports cars or SUVs, go in, be seen going in, take my little Insta photos, and what's that other one? Not Instagram, TikToks doing their TikToks.
Oh, yeah, TikTok, yeah.
I got to do TikToks and Instagram to show you got the new posh cool thing from Sash Bags in San Diego. Woohoo! Right? And then we go out to our vehicle and talk to some other folks that are driving European sports cars or SUVs. Hop in our European sports car or SUV and drive very slowly away so you can see me driving away from the posh spot. Come on, right? But the thing is, it's a product that people are willing to buy and they're willing to pay the money for them, regardless of why. We can make jokes about it, but if that product is moving and it's accelerating money through the economy, then great, that's good. I want the cool bag, right? I want the Coach purse, right? I want the Coach clutch. I want the newest, coolest thing. I want the Fash, right? The Fash from the Sash. So, but the logistics issues are going to cause even more issues. And especially her going from 11 employees to 3, that's 8 jobs that are now not in that district, right? So now where are they going to go to achieve employment, right?
Wow. That's the problem. Wow.
Yep. The top executive of the Port of Long Beach, one of the nation's biggest ports, recently talked about higher costs being passed on to small business owners and consumers. For a while, shippers absorbed rising costs from fuel spikes in the last year's Liberation Day tariffs, said Noel Sabega. Hasagabe? Hasagabe. You want to try that one?
Pasagama. There we go.
Oh, we missed all the way around. So,
Yes.
he's the chief executive of the Port of Long Beach during a media briefing earlier this month. He said that that's no longer the case today. Those costs are being passed along across the board. We're seeing new surcharges and higher rates. Again, tariffs and logistics costs for fuel. He said major shippers are instituting fuel surcharges and adjusting how they move cargo. Amazon is adding a 3.5% third-party seller surcharge for fuel and logistics. The U.S. Postal Service is planning a temporary 8% surcharge, and UPS and FedEx have also raised their surcharges.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's pretty bad. So here's the thing that I have seen. So sometimes there is a third-party entity that moves things, and the two parties who are in contract, there's a fuel surcharge from the one that is hiring a third party to deliver, but they take the entire surcharge as opposed to paying it down to the person who's operating the vehicle logistically to move it. I've seen that. It's not cool, but I've seen that. They're like, we're going to charge you 3.5 more percent, but we're not going to pay the 3.5% to the person who's moving the product. We're just going to go ahead and keep that in-house, and you don't get any of it. So Hasagabe, I got it right, was joined by Jonathan Gold, vice president at National Retail Federation, who said that the nation's small retailers are seeing disproportionate impact. Small businesses in particular don't have the ability to absorb cost increases and typically have to pass those along to the end customer. That's what Gold said. And that's like the person you're looking at, they're like, why are you charging me so much money? I've got costs, right? And I have to attempt to make some money here as well.
Yeah, they have to make that cut as well. That's the problem.
You got to get their bag.
Well, it's not the problem, but it's the nature of business.
Right. Well, we can only charge so much. Small retailers don't want to drive their loyal customers away, obviously. Rima Advocator is feeling the squeeze all around. I didn't know we were going to do funny names today. With higher shipping costs being, well, not funny. I just apologize. I'm sorry. It was just difficult. Okay. Reading is hard. I was educated in the United States. Anyway, the higher shipping costs being the latest pain point, but
I'm really not going to make it. I'm really not going to make it.
I know you want to. I know you want to. Right? Don't get loose on me today, Patrick. All right? I'm just a victim of my circumstance. The designer of women's clothing said she does not want to raise prices because it will just deter those who are still spending. Of course.
Yeah. She's right. Yeah.
Well, I've seen a lot of these businesses do a keystone where they functionally charge you 100% over their cost. So they have to reduce that margin, right? So, and if everybody's doing it, then the prices look comparable. But that's a thing that is done. We can only charge so much, so we're having to eat the cost again, she said. Advocator, who makes her eponymous Rima clothing brand in San Diego, but buys imported fabric from Los Angeles-based companies, said she had to cut back on production by about 30% last year, which meant fewer sales. This year, she has had to reduce production by about 50%, which means if you have less things up, you probably have to charge more money for the things you have out there to beat the cut. Her decreased business has had a widespread effect on her loyal ecosystem, all of whom are small business owners themselves. When I'm not producing, there's no work for my sewer, pattern maker, and cutter. She said, that causes a vicious cycle. My manufacturer had to get a second job, so her business had to be put on the back burner.
Oh, wow.
That's tough.
Oh, wow.
Advocator said she's working 4 times harder and is having to get creative with marketing and by doing wholesale locally. Well, you got to do what you got to do, right? You're going to have to find that balance point where you can, beat the margins and make your monies. Got to make that bag. If the government doesn't do something for small businesses, a lot of us are going to be going out of business very soon. And there's a small business advocate office in California that is supposed to work with these businesses to assist them, not by handing them money, but by giving them better tools, right?
Yes, but unfortunately, no matter what tools you give them, it does not change the economic factors behind what's happening.
Right. You can't force people to make the different decision, or you can't. There's no way by force to get people to spend their money in a way that seems unfeasible when the costs are so high.
Yes, exactly. People just don't have the money. Just don't.
Right. Like Advocator. Oh, and paying 52 cents on the dollar in tax at the end of the day in California isn't helping either. It's not good.
Oh no, no,
we,
no.
we talked about it a few episodes ago. So I ran my sheets. I ran my business sheets. Come to find out, it's not 52 cents. It's 59 cents per dollar.
59
59
cents.
cents for every dollar that comes into my household.
Wow.
And worse. My business is even worse. I have a small side business, and that's 64 cents on the dollar that I'm paying.
That is up. Wow. Do you definitely don't like making money in California, do you?
I hate it. I hate it. I would like to give people who haven't worked, I would like them to go ahead and just excise my money. Right? I would like to just give my money away, apparently. Right? All right.
Yeah.
Like Abed Cater, women's apparel designer and maker Jennifer Grace Carter knows fabric brokers and importers in the Los Angeles area who have shut down because of tariff costs. Yeah, they just can't do it. The Trump administration immigration policies have also affected her business. Carter, who used imported materials but makes her clothing domestically, said a lot of people were afraid to come to work. One shop that had 25 people sewing now sees less than half of them coming to work. She said, adding the workers are here legally but look a certain way, so they are scared. Well, if you're here appropriately, then I don't know why you would be scared. What would you have to fear? If someone says, hey, I need to see your paperwork, you're like, here's your paperwork. Oh, cool. That's your H-1B.
Yeah, a lot, as they say, a lot of irrational fear from people, I would say.
I believe so. If you are on the up and up and you are here legally, then you should not have anything to fear. And if an agent from 8 USC, Homeland Security, for whatever reason, says, hey, go ahead and see your papers, and they say, here's my papers. Oh, cool. Have a good day. See ya. The Trump administration's immigration policies. Oh, we already did that. Her handmade Jennifer Grace brand has had to scale back on styles to adjust to that shift. So now you can only make the coolest styles. You can't have anything esoteric. The bottom line is that Carter is dealing with less labor force, fewer materials, and higher costs. She has raised her prices only incrementally because people won't buy if a business changes prices too drastically. Yeah,
so basically she's cutting her own margin. Okay. Wow.
Carter recently returned to California from direct-to-consumer events in Las Vegas and Scottsdale, Arizona. The U.S.-Israeli war in Iran has not only affected her shipping costs, it has also raised her travel costs. Her customers were in the same boat. She heard some attendees talking about how, in quotes, it was so expensive to get here. I wanted to shop more. That's interesting. I went to Scottsdale, Arizona. I want to get my retail therapy on, but I just had to go to this damn meeting, right?
Okay. Wow. That's an interesting segue from her.
Right.
Wow.
We want to go to Scottsdale and go shopping, but we couldn't. We just had to go to our damn business meeting. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Let me break out the violins.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm not
being sarcastic.
You are being sarcastic, but I don't have a sad face for that. The pain of higher costs seems unlikely to go away anytime soon. For one thing, the uncertainty continues, whether it be on the shores, around the world, or right here at home with erratic policy. It makes it very difficult for business people to plan, said Gene Soroka, executive director of the Port of Los Angeles, during a media briefing this month. Even those whose businesses have an opportunity to benefit from what's going on are expressing pessimism. I think that's about enough of that. There's a couple more paragraphs, but it
gives you a very broad picture of the economic reality out there at the moment. It's pretty stark, really.
Well, it is. People are just trying to make a living, and all these extra costs are really, really coming under fire. And
I even find it over here. The prices in the shop has gone up. Everything has gone up, even over my neck of the woods.
Well, there's a brick and mortar problem where going to a store is less feasible. Paying some slight cost for someone to bring these luxury type items to your doorstep is a lot cheaper. Like
Amazon we don't actually. Yeah, where I live, we don't actually have that option. I can literally 50-minute walk in and out to a major supermarket for me. We're not as, I would say we are heavily reliant on cars, but we have a lot of public transport and so on. Even that's going up now.
Right. Our public transport in California is more city by city as opposed to getting from one urban center to another. right?
Yeah, I've seen that actually. Yeah.
Yeah, when you look that up. Well, it was a problem in the 70s and 80s. A lot of the public transit was bought up by private industry, and then they just shut it down. And that
Yeah.
caused the car market to go nuts, and everybody had to buy cars to get where they were going because there just wasn't a feasible way to use mass transit to get places. So,
Yeah, but even when I was looking at going over there, just trying to get buses or trains from one city to another city, we're just I wouldn't we're so used to it in Europe where it's very easy to go from one train to another train to a bus and so on from all across Europe. Where in the United States it's not that easy.
yeah,
It's
Eurorail's really good. Eurorail's amazing.
yeah, yeah. As I said, we built up more for public transport, where the United States went the opposite way.
We did. We certainly
Yeah.
made that decision. I don't know if we did it
Oh
or if
yeah,
large corporations did it for us, but it was definitely made.
it was
Anything?
definitely made. Yeah.
Yeah, anything for the good of the people, Patrick?
No. As I say, I know it's not. It looks a bit of all doom and gloom, but eventually, like we're all old enough to remember the Gulf War and so on. All this will level out over time. Eventually, it'll take 6 to 18 months, but eventually prices will drop.
Yeah, I believe they'll stabilize. So for Patrick
Yes.
McCallum, I am Alex Johansson. Like, subscribe, ring the bell, do all the things to help us beat the algorithm. We're the A&P Gents, and we are out.